Howdy, hello, and welcome to our podcast episode number 108. Adventure on the move as Manny and his friends navigate a changing world. I am Timothy, and as always, here with me, my good friend Thomas. Today, we are going to discuss a film called Ice Age, Continental Drift. We are both very excited that you, dear viewer, could join our film night.
Ice Age, Continental Drift is a 2012 American animated adventure comedy film about Manny, Sid, Diego, and Granny being separated from their herd after an accidental continental drift. They face pirates led by Captain Gutt and must work together to find their way back home while dealing with personal issues and navigating treacherous environments. To start with, I quite enjoyed the film. So, Tim, what do you think about Ice Age? Continental Drift?
Well, I'm not quite sure how to say it, Thomas. I found the film.
It was all right.
But it didn't really capture my attention like some of the previous Ice Age films have done.
Oh, come on, Timothy. You can't just dismiss a whole movie because it wasn't like the first one you saw. I thought this one had more action and adventure than ever before, with pirates and crazy sea creatures. It was just what I needed on a boring Friday night.
Well, I suppose there were some moments of humor here and there. But overall, the plot felt a bit too predictable for me.
Oh, please. You're always complaining about everything being too predictable. Besides, isn't that part of the charm of an animated family movie? Just sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the ride without having to worry too much about deep plot twists or character development?
Well, I do appreciate a good storyline, Tom. And while I understand that this is meant to be a lighthearted film for children, it doesn't mean it can skimp on quality writing, does it?
Fine. We'll agree to disagree on that one. But at least we both can agree that Manny and Ellie's daughter Peaches grew up quite nicely, right?
She.
Come on, Timothy. She's a teenager now. You know how they can be. It's normal for them to want to explore and find their place in the world. Besides, it was great to see her character develop throughout the movie, as she learns valuable lessons about family and friendship.
All right, I suppose you have a point there. But overall, Ice Age, Continental Drift wasn't really my cup of tea. Thomas, what about you?
I'll admit it wasn't Citizen Kane, but it was meant to be a fun, lighthearted adventure for kids and families alike. And in that regard, I think they nailed it. The animation was top-notch. The voice acting was superb, and the action sequences were thrilling enough to keep even the most restless of viewers entertained. Plus, who doesn't love seeing a group of prehistoric animals working together like a modern-day crew on a pirate ship? I mean, come on. As for the story itself, sure, it wasn't Shakespeare, but it was funny and heartwarming enough to make me laugh out loud at least once. And isn't that what really matters when you're looking for an escape from reality? Besides, I think we can all relate to some degree with Manny's reluctance to let go of the past and embrace change, even if his methods might not always be the most practical or legal. So overall, while Ice Age, Continental Drift might not be my top pick from the franchise, it certainly wasn't a waste of 2 hours of my life. What about you, Timothy? Any last thoughts on this underrated gem of an animated adventure film?
Well, Thomas, I must admit there was one thing that caught my attention while watching the film. It's the scene where Manny and his team accidentally end up on an island filled with dinosaurs. Now, according to a behind-the-scenes interview with the animator, this sequence was incredibly difficult to bring to life. They had to create not only the dinosaurs, but also the entire environment they lived in, from the lush jungle to the roaring volcano. The team spent countless hours researching the behavior and characteristics of various dinosaur species to ensure accuracy, even hiring paleontologists for consultation. What's more impressive is how seamlessly they managed to blend these Fiji creatures with the traditional hand-drawn animation style used throughout the rest of the film. the film. The attention to detail and dedication of the animators really shines through in this scene, making it one of the highlights of the movie for me.
Well, Timothy, you've certainly picked an interesting scene from Ice Age, Continental Drift, to focus on. And while it's true that the dinosaur sequence was a technological feat for its time, I personally found some of the changes made from the original film in the new version somewhat questionable.
Oh, you mean like how they replaced the original voice actors? I thought they did an all right job with the replacements. What specifically were you thinking about, Thomas?
Well, for one, I'm not sure I entirely agreed with the decision to completely overhaul the original storyline and focus more on action-packed adventure instead of the heartwarming, family-oriented comedy that made the first few films so special. Don't get me wrong, I love a good pirate movie as much as the next guy, but I think the writers might have gone a little too far with this one, sacrificing character development for more explosions and chases.
I can see where you're coming from, Thomas. But on the flip side, I think some fans were getting a bit tired of the formulaic Sid gets himself into trouble. Manny reluctantly saves him. They learn a valuable lesson about friendship and family trope that had sort of become stale after 3 movies. A change of pace might have been just what the series needed to keep things fresh and interesting for both longtime fans and newcomers alike.
That's a valid point, Tim. I suppose it all comes down to personal preferences when it comes to how we want our animated adventure films to be structured. But overall, do you think Ice Age, Continental Drift managed to capture the essence of what made the original film so special?
Well, I wouldn't say it quite lived up to the standard set by the first few movies in terms of storytelling and character development, but it did have its moments. The animation was still top-notch, the voice acting was solid, and there were some genuinely laugh-out-loud-worthy moments sprinkled throughout the film. So while it might not be the best entry in the franchise, I'd still rate it as an above-average, family-friendly animated adventure movie.
Well, that's a fair assessment, Timothy. And speaking of the voice cast, I do think they did a decent job of casting new actors to replace the original ones. What were your thoughts on the new voices for Manny and Ellie?
I've always been a fan of Ray Romano's voice work, and he did an excellent job of capturing Manny's gruff exterior, hiding a soft heart. As for Ellie, I think Queen Latifah brought a nice touch of sophistication to the character without losing her down-to-earth charm. They had great chemistry together on screen, which really helped sell their relationship as loving parents and partners in adventure.
I agree, Timothy. Both Romano and Latifah did a fantastic job of breathing new life into these beloved characters. And what about the supporting cast? How do they stack up against their predecessors?
John Leguizamo reprised his role as the self-proclaimed Latin lover and ladies' man, Sid, and he still managed to steal every scene he was in with his goofy antics. Seeing William Scott replace Josh Peck as Manny's teenage son, and while I miss Peck's more innocent portrayal of the character, Scott brought a much-needed dose of rebellious energy to the storyline.
And what about the new additions to the cast, like Peter Dinklage as Captain Gutt? He's always been a favorite of mine, his role in Game of Thrones. How did he fare as the antagonist in Ice Age? Continental Drift?
Tom, I think you're going to love this part. Peter Dinklage absolutely nails the role of Captain Gutt, bringing a perfect balance of menacing charm and unhinged madness to the screen. His performance as the pirate captain was so convincing that I found myself rooting for him at times.
Really? That's quite a compliment coming from you, Timothy. And what about Jennifer Lopez and Drake? They play the roles of Shira, the saber-toothed tiger, and her male counterpart, respectively. Did they live up to their animated counterparts?
Well, I think it's important to note that while they were given credit for their work on the film, Lopez and Drake only provided their voices for the characters Shira and the male saber-toothed tiger, respectively. However, I do believe they did a decent job of bringing these fierce felines to life. Their chemistry was tangible, and their performances added an extra layer of depth to the storyline.
That sounds interesting, Tim. And lastly, let's not forget about the talented cast member who voiced Scrat, the prehistoric squirrel who accidentally sets off the chain of events in the movie. How did they fare in their role?
Tom Scrat is arguably one of the most iconic and beloved characters in the Ice Age franchise. And once again, Chris Wedge nails it. His portrayal of Scrat's eternal quest for a nut and his hilarious misfortunes are a highlight of the film. His comedic timing is spot on, and I found myself chuckling at every scene he appeared in.
That sounds like an impressive cast, Timothy. And lastly, do you think Ice Age, Continental Drift, had any influence on other animated films or TV shows that came after it?
Oh, absolutely, Tom. The success of this film paved the way for a wave of animated adventure movies and TV shows that followed in its footsteps. You can clearly see its influence in popular franchises like How to Train Your Dragon, Tales of the Hidden Witch, and even some recent Disney films like Frozen and Moana. The use of CG animation combined with traditional hand-drawn animation became a staple of AM animated filmmaking for years to come, thanks in part to Ice Age. Continental Drift.
That's fascinating, Tim. And on that note, I think we've talked enough about Ice Age, Continental Drift. Do you have any thoughts on the impact of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom or Raya and The Last Dragon on modern animation?
Oh, Tom, you know how much I adore dinosaurs, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom did not disappoint. While it may not have been as groundbreaking as Ice Age, Continental Drift in terms of animation style or storytelling, it sure packed a punch when it comes to action and thrills. The film's use of practical effects combined with CG made the dinosaurs more lifelike than ever before, and the added element of human versus beast conflict kept me on the edge of my seat throughout the entire movie. As for Raya and The Last Dragon, it was a breath of fresh air in the world of animated films. Its beautifully animated scenes and diverse cast of characters brought an Asian-inspired fantasy adventure to life like no other. The themes of friendship, trust, and self-discovery resonated with audiences of all ages, reminding us that even the smallest of us can make a difference in the grand scheme of things. Raya's journey to save her world from destruction was both heartwarming and heart-wrenching, leaving viewers with a newfound appreciation for the power of teamwork and bravery. Both films have left an indelible mark on modern animation, paving the way for more action-packed adventures and heartfelt stories to be told through the medium of animation.
Well, said Timothy. And on that note, we've come to the end of our journey through the frozen tundra of Ice Age, Continental Drift. While some may argue that this fourth installment in the beloved animated franchise didn't quite live up to its predecessor's standards, it still managed to deliver a fun and adventurous ride packed with laughter and heartwarming moments. The dynamic duo of Manny, Sid Diego, and newcomers like Scrat and his eternal quest for the elusive nut, and Shira the fierce saber-toothed tiger added an extra layer of depth to the already established characters we've come to know and love over the course of the franchise. As we prepare to leave the frozen world of Ice Age behind, let's take a moment to reflect on its enduring legacy. This film series has entertained generations with its clever humor and relatable themes of friendship, family, and acceptance. It has also paved the way for future animated adventures, both visually and narratively, inspiring countless imitators, but none quite as beloved as the original Ice Age crew. So, dear viewers, what are your final thoughts on Ice Age, Continental Drift? Did you find it a fitting addition to the franchise, or did it fall short of expectations? We'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family who also enjoy a good animated adventure. Until next time, farewell, and may the melting icebergs guide you home.